Welcome to Radio B2B, the only truly free, unbiased and open internet radio platform for business in Africa.
I'm talking with Lorraine Jenks, and she is one of the fascinating speakers at the SAPEX conference, which is coming up between the 4th and the 7th of June. Lorraine is talking about sustainability and a guide to sustainable supply chain management. Her topic is Keep It Clean, Lean and Green. Lorraine, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure, Ava. Thanks for inviting me.
So why this topic? What makes it such an important topic?
I think, we're up against two major challenges. It's debatable which one will get us first. Either climate change is going to get us first, or what we call ecocide. And climate change we can't do much about in Africa, but ecocide we can.
Well, what do you mean by ecocide?
Ecocide is the destruction of our ecosystems, of our forests, the oceans being polluted, the air being polluted, the extinction of animals, the poisoning of our soil. We're actually committing suicide if we don't change the way we do things, the way our economies run, and our priorities. And the reason we're focusing heavily now, finally, on supply chains is because there's been a lot of awareness, thanks to Al Gore, about energy and the brownouts in the 1970s. But people are aware of saving energy. People are aware of conserving water. And everybody talks about recycling. I actually think, off the record, that recycling plastics is an absolute hoax. I think it's a psychological ploy. But other recycling is good. But nobody's paying anywhere near enough attention on the things we use every day, because every single thing we use every day impacts on the environment. So we've got to start looking at the supply chain of the whole cycle of every product we use and start helping our suppliers be more responsible and more aware. Very often people just actually don't stop to think. So it's just a matter of creating a new awareness and hopefully some changes in habits and practices.
Now, you've had a lot of experience in this because, in reality, you spent 15 years as a contracts and purchasing manager for one of South Africa's largest hotel chains, and you made it your personal mission to find a greener version of every product and service in your group purchasing manual. Your colleagues couldn't have liked that.
They used to pat me on my head. I'm very short. I'm 5'1". And call me the little green queen and say, she's worried about the bunnies, and she's a little tree hugger, and she wants to know where the teak is coming from. And I actually started, the trouble was I'd been living in California in my hippie days. And, we hippies had jobs, but we were very aware already of pollution and population and deforestation. And I worked for the Environmental Protection Agency, and then came home and by accident found myself doing a temporary job at Southern Sun's head office. And I'm a teacher by profession, so I was just completely out of my depth. So I turned it into a mission. I did all the contracts for everything, CapEx, food and beverage, maintenance products, operating equipment, finishing fittings, and I would try and encourage them just to challenge. If you use teak in a hotel, just say, where did the teak come from? And why are we still using chemicals of phosphates in the Kruger Park and in the Drakensberg? And I don't actually think anyone was being delinquent. I think I was just ahead of my time, having had the privilege of being in California. And then our first really green development was the Sandton Convention Center. And that's where I had a chance. I helped to procure the operating equipment to actually find the greenest I possibly could of everything that we bought. And I left one day a little bit cross, I have to say, because I'd done a wonderful recycling program for them just because it was something I wanted to do, the little green queen on the third floor, and nobody took any notice. So I left and I started a website of the greener version of everything we use in our hotel. And the rest is history. It's just been absolutely phenomenal.
Do you think that Well, I suppose the first question is, do you think that companies in South Africa are recognized and rewarded when they do what it is you're suggesting they do? But more importantly, do you think they should be? Is there a mechanism for doing that makes sense, that's economically viable, that reflects on a company's prominence on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, for example, in terms of their triple BE scorecarding, etc.? Or is there a lot more work that has to be done in that particular regard?
There's a lot more awareness. It was mandatory for a while for some of the hotels to start practicing sustainability. It's a myth that it's more expensive. If you really start looking at case studies and the full life cycle of a product, in fact, long term it's much cheaper. It needs to be, unfortunately, legislated, a lot of it, before people will take any notice, because it's a little more effort. But my hope, as is our goals, we do have what we call compassion fatigue every so often, and just say, why the hell do I bother to carry on? My journey is 45 years. That's a long time. But the kids are coming up. The millennials are coming up. The hipsters are coming up. And these kids know what they want. And I think they're going to start demanding. My children won't stay in a hotel if it doesn't have green credentials. They won't eat in a restaurant unless they're offering good, ethical food. So that's the hope. But at the moment, profit comes above everything. And there's this saying, I've got a slide actually, which is growth. Growth for the sake of growth is the ideology of a cancer cell. We cannot carry on the way we are now with the economy. And there's some wonderful stats I found yesterday, actually. Australia actually needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets to carry on consuming the way it does. Russia needs 3, France needs 3, China needs 2, India only needs 3/4. So this is the way we're consuming resources. At this rate, everyone wants to live like the West does, like the Americans do, and it's just not feasible, obviously.
Just go back a stage. You said India only needs 3/4 of a planet.
Yes.
And India is one of the most populous countries on our globe.
Yeah. But they have a lot of small-scale farming. They aren't very materialistic. There's another stat that I don't have here, but something like the Americans get so cross with me, one American consumes something like 8 times the resources of one Kenyan. So, it's a consumer society, and that's gobbling up resources, it's polluting, it's killing off our wild animals. So that's where the shift's got to change. And then when you start slowly, always slowly, with your supply chain, you can start persuading, you can't force, just start persuading people to just stop and think. Stop and think before you buy anything. Stand back.
It sounds absolutely fascinating what you have to say, and I'm looking forward to your talk at the SAPEX conference, 4th to 7th of June, and hopefully you're going to come across supply chain practitioners who are convinced that what you're saying makes sense, and realizing, and I think this is the thing, realizing that they are the pinnacle of that company when it comes to the impact in terms of greening and to the impact in terms of purchasing for greening purposes.
We don't have to change anything. There's just a better way to do everything. Nothing has to be drastically stopped.
Lorraine, thank you so much for chatting with me, and I look forward to hearing you.
Okay. Be lovely. Thank you so much, Ivor.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
The Radio B2B Weekly News Review.